and welcome to the Gamers Table, Independent Edition. It is Friday, and we're reviewing A Feast and Famine.
It's a cooperative game.
A Feast and Famine is a cooperative game for 1 to 6 players. Each player represents a minister in the service of King Cheshire. The office of the game is to build the castle for the king before the kingdom succumbs to disaster. And disaster comes in many forms. You will fight enemies to the north, east, and south, plagues, famines, poverty, and more.
It's very, very predictable, which I think is not a good thing for a cooperative game. You need that unpredictable, anything can happen. Okay, what's happening? The tension's mounting. This game is like, oh, that was a little close. Okay, we better get more medicine next round. Okay, now we're good.
We have yet to lose. It got a little dicey, but it's never gotten to the point where we're not going to win this.
It's gotten a little scary, like you get down in resources, and if you can't afford to pay that resource, then you're going to lose. But there's always pay 2 gold for, what is it, 1 resource, right? Mm-hmm. So as long as you keep that gold up high, keep sending people up to the market, you know you're going to be pretty much all right through this game here. And it's pretty much, okay, you pick specialties here, like Chris has got in his hand here. Those specialties, like where's an example here? Okay, let me go. This one here is a finance one. This is the one Chris had in the last game. Finance +1. So whatever time you go to make gold, your particular dude, where is he? Is it this one?
No, it's the yellow one.
That's the yellow. I don't see the yellow one right here. He's got it in there.
Well,
they're all color coordinated here. So the yellow guy, when he goes there, will be able to produce 2 gold. And anyone he brings along with him that's yellow will produce 2 as well. Anyone of another color will produce 1. That pretty much goes for every other location on the board. You pretty much end up playing this game the same way pretty much every time. You got to do this, and then as long as you do those things, it's going to be pretty manageable. And that's pretty much the way this game is.
It changes up the game because there's 8 different specialty cards for your minister. So depending on which ones are in the game might change the way the game is played a little bit.
And you're dealt them randomly. Yes. It's not like you can pick the ones that are best. So sometimes you might not have the guy who makes the gold, so you're just going to be at that disadvantage for the whole game.
Yeah, so it changes the game up a little bit anyway.
It's just a small advantage, really. Mm-hmm. Nothing's breaking in this game.
No. So the game is played over seasons, as many as it takes for the game to either have the win condition or the lose condition. You start in the spring, and you go around the track. And on the track on the outside, which is called the calendar, it has marked everything you're going to do. So you pass the first player marker. You take 1 guy out of poverty. You bring any guys who you've sent off to learn things into the board. Draw the cards for the number of players. Everybody takes their action. Produce the resources. Produce the food. Eat the food. Build the castle. Next season. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. The castle building is always the last thing in the season. And once you've built all the parts of the castle, the game ends. So you're going to have... You sit there, we got our last stone, we got our last stone. We just got to survive through this one season, and we've got the game.
Yeah, that's the goal of your game, is to build the castle. And you can lose, though, in a couple of different ways, by losing any resource, not being able to pay your penalties, and losing all your workers at the same time. If you lose any workers, you don't have any left on the board to work with, that, again, done.
There's a deck of quite a few cards here. 2 of them are good for you, and 1 of them is only an improved trading card for that round. The other one is taxes based on how many guys you have. You get that much more gold, which really isn't that helpful. I mean, these are all going to be bad things. I think that's the aim of it, that all the event cards will be bad. It's a cooperative game. It's supposed to be hard. Unfortunately, I don't find it hard enough. It's difficult, and there can be some tense moments, but it's not as difficult as you would expect a co-op game to be.
Yeah, whoever's a chancellor, I think it is, whoever's got the token will have the 3 events to pick, and they pass 1 off to everybody, and they'll most likely be losses of some sort of resource. Famine will lose you 4 food, or it could be even a battle where this nation demands 5 medicine, or else they get more angry with you.
And they also attack.
They also attack, and then you either have to defend or give in to the bribe. Which, I mean, you got a real wussy nation here. The nations from everywhere are just give us stuff or we'll beat you up. And it's like, how come you can't beat them up?
Yeah, there's 3 different nations. They're all stealing your lunch money.
Yeah,
and
you can kind of fight
sometimes
them off, but
you can get the cards, the event cards come up, and it's plague, plague, plague. And it's, oh no, or plague, medicine, medicine. It's, no, we can't loot. We've only got 4. We can't have 3 cards and get rid of it. So you're taking battles that otherwise you wouldn't, and you're trying, and then you're spending your gold to try and get enough medicine to keep your guys alive. Because if the workers die, and you got to bring a worker on, if you're in spring, it takes summer, autumn, and winter before that guy's coming in. So you lose a worker, it's a long time before you see them again.
Yes. And the most you can have is 2 workers of each color. You got your merchants, your farmers are the green, your doctors are the blue, scholars are black. Scholars are interesting because you can send them back to school to earn a ring, and then they become
kind of like getting a degree.
Now that guy is a farmer. Now this guy can be a farmer and he's a good masonry guy as well. So he works as well as a green or a white guy in that instance. You have the opposing nations constantly like, we want your food, we want your medicine, we want your gold. And then you have to like, now do we give it to them or do we roll the dice? At which point you can put your soldiers in there in order to cancel the dice, therefore not losing anything. Definitely a strategy in this game I find is you can't have all the workers supported, because when you roll the dice you're guaranteed to lose one of the 6 colors. If you eliminate one of the 6 colors from your workforce, then all of a sudden if you don't have any doctors, which I think is the most expendable, next time you roll and you get a blue that you can't cancel, all right, well, the doctor dies, but if you don't have any doctors, then it is no longer a loss. The event deck is very small. You're going to go through this deck 2 or 3 times in a game, and everything is the same. It's going to be the same losses, the same stuff. It's just going to come after you in a different order. So I find there's not enough surprise, not enough random in this game. Like, there's the small dice rolls, but I mean, like if you're getting attacked, if it's at 3, you're going to be rolling 3 dice, and that's how many workers you're going to lose. Unless, of course, you've defended it with enough guys. Like, one red guy will allow you to cancel 2 of the dice.
Mm-hmm.
And any guy who's not red will be 1.
Wrapping up for A Feast or Famine. The theme is, again, in his Altero theories, you're a bunch of nobles of some type telling the peasants of some type what to do and trying to get some sort of resolution. It's there, but unfortunately, as we've mentioned earlier, it becomes a little repetitive. It's very obvious when it gets to your turn, and the minute the Chancellor has handed you your card, you flip it over and say, okay, we're going to lose this. I need to put my guy there to offset the card that I have to keep everything rolling. If everybody does that, the game ticks along fairly smoothly until you get hit with the one where it's the same card for 3 different people, and we can't do that resource all the time, and we have a little bit of a shaky ground, and then a couple guys maybe go to the church because they're too poor, or a couple guys succumb to disease. But for the most part, it's very do it. There's a little bit of assembly required in this game when you get it, the biggest thing being the dice. The dice are all custom, so they have stickers on every surface. This is one of the cool options that the Game Crafter picked up. There can be a little bit of tension. Like I say, if the event cards come in a bad order, you can get a lot of bad things happening in a row and you can't always combat them, and it gets a little tense. But unless it completely tanks your whole game, you will recover from that, and then you'll get your multiplayer game engine back rolling, and you'll probably win the game. It might be a little tense, but probably win the game. The dice are custom, so all the faces are actually custom to the game. They're not pips, they're actually colored icons and stuff, which is nice. The different resources are represented by the standard wooden pieces that look like the resources. They're not just cubes. And the castle is built by a bunch of white cubes and circles that actually end up looking like a castle when it's done on the board, which is kind of neat. I give A Feast and Famine a 6.
Yeah, I find it kind of repetitive as far as wanting to play it again and again. I just don't see it happening. Replayability is kind of low for me. The event deck is a little too small, so same things happening over and over again. Like you said, you get too much of the same thing happening at once, it can get a little scary. But if you keep the food and the gold high all the time, like Chris is always, a lot of times he's actually ended up with
I'm always the
financial guy, so he's always going to the gold and say, hey, you can trade it 2 for 1. Why not? Go there all the time and make sure your food is high. You're pretty much going to win the game. As far as the battles go, if you can afford to pay it, you can. It makes them happier. Okay, but if you can't, it's really not that hard, to negate those dice rolls, to eliminate the dice. And usually it doesn't get too high because sometimes, hey, you can afford to pay it, so it's going to go back down again. We don't really see it get too high on those tracks. Like I said about the graphics, they're nice and crisp and clear, really nicely done. The track, the order you do everything in is clearly labeled on the outside of the board, on the edge in the calendar. It's really nice. It's just the resolution and the artwork in the center there is kind of fuzzy and ill-defined and that. But, looks like you got a big clamshell down here in the corner, but that's actually supposed to be a farmer's field or something. But anyway, other than that, it's just minor quibble with the game. But it's just for me kind of dull. It's out of the 3 games in the series, probably second for me. I still like Power and Glory the best. Just a little bit more variety in the event deck would probably help this game for replayability. It does get a little predictable. You get used to it, you know what to do. It's not that hard. Keep the food and the gold up and you should be all right. We haven't lost one yet. So just going to be, I guess, a 6 for me.
It's enjoyable, but it's very predictable. It's very manageable, too. For a cooperative game, it's almost a little too manageable, where this is what you're going to lose every time you go through the event deck. You could look at it, and, the battles are somewhat variable, because you can either pay the 6 food or let it go up and then just manage it with soldiers. But at the same time, you're going to have to eventually pay, because you can't constantly put that many soldiers in, because you're not going to be able to be producing. So you have to give the bully your lunch money once in a while. I give A Feast and Famine a 6.
Okay.
Apparently that's it for this episode of the Gamers Table Independent Edition. Tune in next week where we review another independent game.
Because that's what we do.
No, carry on. You're doing great.
No, that was it. I realized that. I'll pause. I'll say I've said enough about those cards. If anybody else wants to.
Hail, Seek Soft Hand! We bring you provisions. Hail! Soft Hand's hurt! He's not hurt. He's dead. Shut up, Far.
He's dying. I'm amazed he survived this long.
We've been tricked. Someone has been ahead of us every step of the way.
I name you Thief of the Scroll.
They killed Will Strongarm! I saw them! Oh, I'm sure they'll try for me next!
Trace? Blackwings? Oh, Simeon! Why did you have to take everyone from me?